Now, as I said, a new report has highlighted that accommodation for asylum seekers at former Essex base RAF Wethersfield is costing a staggering 10 times more than originally planned. And Andrew Hurl, a member of Wethersfield Airfield Scrutiny Committee, joins me now on the show. Welcome to the show, Andrew. Thank you so much for joining us. The figures are astonishing. It was meant to cost £5 million to prepare Wethersfield. It's actually costing £49 million, 10 times the original amount, and yet nobody in the areas I can see it actually wants this to happen in your community. Andrew, how are you feeling today?
Hi, Martin. To be honest, this comes as no surprise to us as communities. I think we've known since September that these large sites are going to cost considerably more than hotel accommodation. You know, we've seen various legal documents which shows, I mean, to be honest, I go stronger. I think the intention was never actually to be cheaper than hotels, judging by what we've seen. We've seen some ridiculous, one example is a letter of intent signed by a senior civil servant to lease porter cabins for 12 months for 1,100 people for £72 million a year. Now that's equivalent of £175 a person. So this was signed back in February 23. So you have to ask yourself the question, was the intention ever to be cheaper than hotels, or is this just a form of political sort of point scoring, which seems to turn into an own goal?
And Andrew, for those who may not be aware of the Wethersfield area, can you spell out and make it clear to us why you believe the area simply isn't suitable for this kind of accommodation for asylum seekers?
Yeah, so basically we're about 9-10 miles from the nearest town. The local village has got 1,000 people population, which is a 2-mile walk from the airbase. The buildings themselves we know to be semi-dilapidated. You know, they were stuck up in the 70 years ago by the Americans in a rush. We know the sewage system fails. We know the water supply failing, the electricity supply is failing. If any Home Office actually listened to all of this right at the beginning, where we pointed out all these problems, you know, this estimate of 5 million, we could have saved £45 million. You know, this is, their policy of not listening to communities, not listening to local planning authorities has backfired massively, and it's going to cost us, the taxpayers, an extra £45 million. So, you know, it's just the Home Office have to start to learn to listen to people and not try and bulldoze through everybody, or fire or sack those that they don't agree with, like, you know, like David Neal from the independent inspector for immigration who condemned Wethersfield for basically what it stands for. So, the Home Office have to.
And when he spoke out on these issues and blew the whistle, he was swiftly dispersed off, got rid of, put his head above the parapet. Andrew, you've campaigned on this tirelessly. You've galvanised your community. You've come together. You've been cohesive. You've been sensible. You've been peaceful. You've been respectful. You've played this down the line straight and done it the right way. And yet they still haven't listened. Andrew, what does this do for your belief in the political system?
It's gone, to be honest. It's evaporated completely. I mean, the National Audit Office's report confirms this. You know, the government repeatedly said this policy is to save the taxpayer money, and it's proven from the outset that actually it's not true. So where is the sort of honesty, where's the transparency, where's the accountability for this government? I mean, I think everyone in the surrounding area feels the same as me, I think.
And Andrew, in terms of the political priorities, the financial priorities of this government, you've been campaigning tirelessly now. Do you just believe that British citizens are just second-class citizens now in our own land?
I'm not sure about that. I'd say that there's a massive disconnect between those forming policy in government and the ability to listen to facts, evidence, things like this. I mean, the National Audit Office, this isn't the first time the National Audit Office has criticised government spending. Back in 2022, they highlighted that only 8% of major government spend is robustly evaluated before it's spent. That's 30 billion out of 450 billion pounds is robustly evaluated before it's spent. So there's just a disconnect between listening to evidence and facts and people and actually their policy. It's just blinkered.
And Andrew, briefly, if we could, despite the fact they're pressing on, despite the fact you've galvanised the committee against it, are you going to fight on?
Yeah, we want common sense to come through. They're about to launch a special development order, which is, again, is another way of bypassing local communities, local planning authorities. We would expect them to acknowledge the operational problems, which the Home Secretary's, our local MP, James Cleverly, admitted, and cap the number at a minimum of like 600, which they believe now is, they can't get over 600 people in there. It's chaos. They can't, yeah. Who would have guessed, you try and put 1,700 people from war-torn areas and it's going to cause trouble. I mean, who would have guessed that? I mean, everyone other than the Home Office. So we'd expect them to listen to the facts and actually respond to it.